What's up everybody, it's Eric from WRX, back with another video, and today we got rained out. Gotta love Oregon weather, so we're not at the track today, but we're actually up at the corners at Mary's Peak, right outside of Corvallis, and we got the FA-1 prototype in the car, and we're gonna be diving into detail on how the centering mechanism works on the shifter. And we also have something a little extra special that we're testing out. We got a little bit of ethanol in the tank, and we're at around an E30 blend. So we're gonna show you the kind of power increases we're feeling in the car from that. Let's go check it out. Okay guys, before we go for a drive, I wanna talk about the centering mechanism on the FA-1 shifter and get really into the details about how it works, and also show you some of the components on the transmission itself and how they work with the centering mechanism on the FA-1 shifter. The factory trim and this leather boot, it all goes back into the car around the prototype, and that's how it's going to be for the production model. You're not going to need to do any modifications or cut any part of your car up. It's just going to go right in and fit seamlessly. So let's pull it out, check out the centering mechanism underneath of everything. Okay, get this out of the way. Okay, now we got the shifter totally exposed. This thing is crazy looking. Put the shift knob back on there. Okay, so let's talk about this centering mechanism. Now, first of all, this thing, it just centers the shifter really well. You can see there when I'm hitting the stops, either going over to the left or to the right, it's nice and firm, and when I let go, the shifter, it just centers so well. The lever on the very bottom of the shifter is what's actually controlling that OEM cable, and I've gone ahead and I've shortened the distance that it takes to go left, or the distance that it takes to go right. And so far, the feedback I've gotten from the community on that has been positive. If you like that, or you don't like that the distance is shortened going left or right, let me know down in the comments. If you hate that or if you like that, let me know. The lever on the bottom works with the OEM cable, okay? And that cable, it connects to a lever on the transmission housing. And I wanna show you what the other end of that lever on the transmission looks like inside of the transmission itself, because there's another mechanism that works with this mechanism on the FA-1 prototype, and it's got its own torsion spring and its own mechanism inside of the transmission, and I think we need to understand how everything's working together. So let's go check that out. Okay, we're in the garage, and this is the test stand with the 2015 plus WRX transmission that I've been designing the prototype on. And over here I've removed this little plate on the side of the transmission, and it is exposing the mechanism connected to the top of the lever here that works with the centering mechanism on the FA-1 prototype. And this is the OEM cable that stays on the transmission, and when you pull or you push on it, you can see that there's this little mechanism right here working with a torsion spring on the other side of the lever on the transmission housing. So when I pull on it or I push on it, you can see it's working with that torsion spring in there to return the lever and center it. You can see that happening up here. Now on the OEM design, it connects to this lever on the bottom of the shifter, and it's a similar concept. It's pulling and pushing from the shifter onto the lever here. And so this system and the system on the shifter have to work together to give you that nice crisp shift. And what I did when I was first designing the lever on the FA-1 was I used this force gauge here to measure the amount of force on the top of this lever required to basically move it to its ends, forward and back. And so if you measure it at the top here, you can pull it, and you can see that it requires about 20 to 25 newtons of force to start moving this lever. And so I used that to basically help run my finite element analysis on the shift lever and help kind of design that. And the other thing I wanted to go over was just all this plastic that Subaru uses to design the foundation of the shifter. And one of the reasons why you just kind of get this poor engagement of the shifter is when the shifter hits its stops, and this is whether you've upgraded the shifter with aftermarket shift stops or not, your shifter will still have this whole plastic housing and foundation in it. You can see these little supports here that they try and support it with to prevent that deflection from happening. But when you're actually hitting a stop and that shifter is being loaded in the pivot point here and it has to resist those forces, what's happening is it's going through this plastic foundation and it's trying to resist those forces, and you get some deflection because it's plastic. And that's just a property of the material. And on the FA-1, it is all aluminum, okay? And so there's a very minimal amount of deflection when it's being loaded, and that's why you get such a crisp, clean shift with the centering mechanism on the FA-1. We are back in the car, and before we go for a drive, I just want to show you how tight and notchy this centering mechanism is with everything back installed. So when we go over into first gear, we just hit that stop and it's nice and crisp. First gear is right above it, second gear right behind it, and third gear, when you want to go into third, all you got to do is just push up on the shifter. And if you watch that last video that we did where we tested this at the quarter mile, you can see when I'm in second gear, I'm in the car and I am shifting the heck out of this thing. I'm just shifting up as hard as I can to get into third gear as quickly as I can, and the shifter just naturally goes into third gear because of the centering mechanism and the torsion spring and the pressures and the spring-loaded balls on that concentric wear surface that I have down in the centering mechanism. This thing, it just works so well and it's nice and crisp. Let's go take this thing for a drive. Okay, with a little bit of ethanol in the tank, you could really feel how much more torque the car was making, and I was hoping I'd be able to show you at the quarter mile today, but we got rained out. So next weekend, we should be able to show you what it does with the ethanol and the shifter at the track. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something today, and if you're interested, join our Discord. Stay tuned for pre-orders and more information and updates on the shifter. Thank you.